Welcome back to the third video that you're going to be watching before we start on the Get Clarity Now experience together. And this video is all about how you process information. So let me go ahead and share the screen so you can see the concepts that I'm going to be sharing with you. So first of all, we're going to talk about the NLP model of communication. So what happens is there's an event that happens outside of us, outside of you. So it's something that happens, and so it might be winning the lottery or your first kiss, an event that happened. Okay, and you're gonna be taking in information, and you take it in visually, auditorially, you hear it, kinesthetically, you touch it or have an emotion around it, smell it, olfactory, and gustatory, taste it. So VACOG. And these are the 5 modalities in which you're going to receive information. And you're receiving information at the rate of 11 million bits per second. And this is work that was actually studied by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, who wrote Flow, Business Flow. He wrote all the Flow books, or Getting in the Zone, essentially. And so 11 million bits per second. Imagine holding out your hands and imagine that 11 million toothpicks land in your hand at the same time. You can't hold on to them all at the same time per second, right? So what happens is your brain can't handle all of that information. So it deletes information, it distorts it, or it generalizes it. And this is to protect you because it can't handle all of the information that's coming in at us at the same time. And then it runs it through various filters that we have that I'm going to talk about with you in a few minutes. And that's how in the process of delete, distorting, and generalizing. Well, then it turns into that 11 million bits per second turns into about 128 bits per second. So the experience that you might have if you've gone to, for example, a wedding, a family wedding with somebody in your family, and years later you both share stories from the wedding, you're going to find that the way the person that you're speaking with who attended the same wedding, you swear they had the same experience that you do, they have a completely different story than you do. Have you ever experienced that? It's because they've taken in their 11 million bits per second of information and processed it differently than you have. And they remember it differently. And then they create a meaning to it. They have what we call an internal representation that is different from yours. So when they think of Aunt Sally's wedding that happened years ago, they're going to have a different picture of that in their head, or an internal representation, than what you might. Okay. And what happens is we create a picture in our head, or an internal representation, and your thoughts, or the image that you have, the thought, will send neurotransmitters that bathe every cell in the body, which will have a different visceral impact on your body or your physiology. And that will create an emotion for you, or a state. So your internal representation, your thoughts plus your physiology, create your emotion or your state. And your states or your emotions are what drive your behavior through strategies. This is going to become more meaningful. My job, as we continue, but my job throughout this work that we're going to be doing together, is to find out what you're thinking. Ask you about your thoughts, so that we can figure out what the emotion is that you're feeling, so that we can figure out how to change the strategy so you can have a different behavior. We don't work on the behaviors, which is what a lot of other traditional therapies and techniques use, is they focus on that end result. We start at the beginning, because when you change the beginning, you can change the result, and it feels almost magical. And quite frankly, that's the key to success in all of this. Focusing on paying attention to what you're focused on, your thought, because that's going to change everything for you. Okay. And so what happens is an event happens, you remember it, it goes through your filters, all the information comes in, goes through everything differently, and you have a result. So what we're going to do is change the way that you think about it. So for example, in this situation, the first kiss, the memory of your first kiss. If it was positive, it runs through all of this and it leads to dancing. I had one person who years ago, she shared her first kiss story, and she said he had horrible breath. And so whenever she thinks of that first memory, she goes, ugh. So her response is not dancing, it's something else. And it happens so quickly, faster than the blink of an eye, faster than a snap of your fingers. But that's essentially how you're wired. And here are the filters that you're running. So again, information comes in, we delete, distort, and generalize it. We create a picture of it. After it runs through all of these filters. And here they are. First of all, time, space, matter, and energy. That's simply your version of reality, how you see reality. And you see it differently than everybody else does because of your unique experiences. The language that you choose to speak and to interpret. So for example, let me give you an example of this. If you went to 5 different people and say to them, could you give me one word to describe money? I will bet you, because I've done this multiple times in multiple classes, that they will all give you a different word to describe the meaning of money to them. It's fun to try if you want to try it with people. And so it's really about, so one of the things that I'm going to be doing is asking you what that means to you, why you're using that word. I want to really understand what that word means to you, because that's part of how you filter information. Your memories are another way that you're filtering what all those 11 billion bits per second, 11 million bits per second, your decisions that you've made in your past. Something we call meta programs. They're your motivation filters. We can get more into that later. Your values and your beliefs. And these are running really deep, deep, deep inside your unconscious mind. They're very low down in your filters. So like they're unconscious, a lot of these. And the other one is your attitude. So that's how you filter information, because you can't handle 11 million bits per second. You're doing it to protect you. This is how we've evolved. It's a good thing. What we want to change is when they don't serve you, when the filter is clogged or it's giving you a behavior that's not serving you to get you towards your outcome. Now, the other way that your internal representations are filtered are by our experiences, the 5 modalities: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory, and the words you will use to label your experience, which is why I am going to be asking you over and over to focus on what you want, to keep it positive, and to, when you speak about your past, keep it in the past. And I don't want to hear things like I'm a victim or other negative language to describe you. Okay, so you could say, in the past, I was a victim. In the past, and keep it in the past, so that you're not reprogramming your conscious mind and your unconscious mind in the now with something that's negative that happened in the past. Okay, we can talk more about it if you have any questions. Great. I'll see you on the next video.